February 9, 2017, 11:23 at night. A distress call crackles through the radio on Deck 12 of the Oceanic Majesty. A teenage girl has gone overboard. Her shoe is found near the railing. A handwritten note tucked inside. I can't do this anymore. By dawn, the Coast Guard suspends the search. Maribel Ashorn, her mother, is escorted to her cabin. She doesn't remember screaming. She doesn't remember collapsing. She only remembers the silence that followed, the kind that swallows you whole. 3 weeks later, Maribel stands over an empty grave in Atlanta. She buries a memory, a ghost, a daughter who left nothing behind but questions she'll never get answered. 7 years pass. Maribel learns to survive the grief, though she never learns to live with it. Every morning feels like drowning. Every breath tastes like salt water and regret. And then, on a bright Thursday morning at the port of Miami, she decides to face the ocean one last time, a commemorative cruise. Closure, the therapist called it. Maribel doesn't believe in closure, but she needs to try. She's standing in line at the terminal, ticket trembling in her hand, when she sees something impossible. A family, posing for a photo 50 feet away, a man in a yellow shirt, 2 children glowing with joy, and a woman in blue, curly hair catching the sunlight, head tilted in that familiar way, dimple creasing her left cheek. Maribel's heart stops. It's Elowen. Not a painting. Not a memory. Not a ghost. Alive. Before Maribel can move, before she can breathe, the woman turns. Their eyes lock across the crowded dock. And in that frozen moment, the smile drains from the woman's face, replaced by something Maribel hasn't seen in 7 years. Recognition. Terror. Then she grabs the children's hands and runs. Chapter 1. Maribel's legs moved before her mind caught up. She shoved past a family with matching luggage, nearly tripping over aerialer bags someone had abandoned in the middle of the walkway. Her eyes never left the blue romper weaving through the crowd ahead, the 2 small figures clutching at the woman's hands. Elowen. The name ripped from her throat, raw and desperate. Elowen! Heads turned. A security guard looked up from his clipboard. But the woman in blue didn't stop. She moved faster, pulling the children toward the ship's massive entrance, swallowed by the stream of boarding passengers. By the time Maribel reached the gangway, they were gone. She stood there gasping, heart slamming against her ribs, scanning every face that passed. Families, couples, elderly, tourists with sun hats and cameras. No yellow shirt. No curly-haired woman. No children. Ma'am, your boarding pass? The attendant's voice cut through the roaring in her ears. Maribel's hands shook as she fumbled for her ticket. The attendant scanned it twice, frowning at his screen, but finally waved her through. She stumbled onto the ship, her vision tunneling. The atrium stretched before her, 3 stories of marble and glass. Crawling with people. She was losing her mind. That was the only explanation. 7 years of grief had finally broken something fundamental inside her brain. She was hallucinating. She had to be. But hallucinations didn't run. They didn't grab their children and disappear into crowds, with fear written across their faces. Maribel found herself at the guest services desk, barely aware of how she'd gotten there. A woman with a name tag that read Sandra smiled up at her with practiced patience. Can I help you? Maribel's voice cracked. I need to see the passenger manifest. I'm looking for someone. My daughter, Elowen Ashorn. Sandra's fingers flew across the keyboard. The clicking sound seemed impossibly loud. I'm sorry, ma'am. We don't have anyone by that name registered for this sailing. Check again, please. Maribel leaned over the counter. She has to be here. I saw her. More clicking. Sandra's smile tightened, professional sympathy creeping into her expression. I've checked twice. No Elowen Ashorn. Is there another name she might be traveling under? Maribel opened her mouth, closed it. What could she say? My daughter who's been legally dead for 7 years? What about, she forced herself to think, a family? A man, a woman, 2 kids. They just boarded. The woman had curly hair, wore blue. The man had on a yellow shirt. Sandra's expression shifted to concern. Ma'am, we have over 3,000 passengers boarding today. I can't. Please. The word came out broken. Please just look. Sandra sighed, but her fingers moved across the keys again. Then she paused. Holt, there's a Holt family. 4 passengers. Deck 9. Maribel's breath caught. What are their names? I'm sorry, I can't give out. But Marivelle was already moving, pushing away from the desk, following the signs toward the elevators. She could feel Sandra calling after her, but the words dissolved into white noise. Deck 9, the Holts. Elowen was alive, and she was hiding. Chapter 2. Marivelle spent the first day invisible. She learned their rhythm, their patterns, moving through the ship like a shadow they couldn't quite shake. The Holts ate breakfast at 8:15 in the Lido buffet. The man, tall, bearded, protective, always entered first, scanning the room before gesturing for his family to follow. His hand never left the small of the woman's back. The children sat between them, a deliberate barrier. Marivelle watched from behind a pillar near the omelet station, her coffee growing cold in her trembling hands. He was too careful, too aware. The way his eyes tracked every person who came too close, the way he positioned himself between his family and the crowd. It wasn't the behavior of a relaxed vacationer. It was surveillance, protection, or control. She followed them to the pool deck that afternoon, hiding behind her sunglasses and a wide-brimmed hat she'd bought in the gift shop. The woman, Elowen, it had to be Elowen, wore a white cover-up over her swimsuit. She laughed at something the little girl said, that same musical sound Marivelle used to hear every morning at breakfast. The sound she'd spent 7 years trying to forget. The man leaned close, whispering something in her ear. Elowen's smile faltered. She nodded, her eyes darting across the deck, searching. Afraid. Marivelle's chest tightened. What had he said to her? What was she afraid of? By evening, she'd positioned herself 3 tables away at the main dining room, partially hidden by an ornamental divider. She watched him cut the little girl's chicken, watched him pour his wife's water. Before she could reach for the pitcher, herself, attentive, devoted, too devoted. When they stood to leave, Marivelle fumbled for her phone. Her hands shook so badly she nearly dropped it, but she managed to snap a photo just as they passed beneath one of the chandelier's lights. The woman's face caught the glow perfectly. The curve of her cheek, the dimple, those eyes. Back in her cabin, Marivelle pulled up an old photo on her phone. Elowen at 15 laughing on their back porch. Dirt under her fingernails from the garden they'd planted together. Marivelle placed the phones side by side on the tiny desk. The resemblance wasn't just striking. It was absolute. The same scattered constellation of freckles across the bridge of her nose. The same slight asymmetry in her smile, the left side pulling just a fraction higher. The same small scar above her right eyebrow from when she'd fallen off her bike at age 7. Marivelle zoomed in on the new photo, her breath catching. There, on the woman's wrist, a birthmark, shaped like a crescent moon. Elowen had that exact mark. She enlarged the image further, studying the man in yellow. His hand was wrapped around Elowen's waist, possessive. His expression was pleasant, but his jaw was tight. And his eyes, even in the photo, even through the warm lighting, looked cold. Marivelle's stomach twisted. Who was Darian Holt? And what had he done to make her daughter fake her own death? Chapter 3. The children were easier to approach than their parents. On the second day, Marivelle found them at the kids' splash zone while the man in yellow read a newspaper. Nearby, and Elowen had disappeared, probably to the restroom. The girl's eyes, wide and bright and amber-flecked, the exact shade that Marivelle saw every time she looked in the mirror. The same rare color her mother had, and her grandmother before that. Pretty, Cairo said absently. Lyra turned to Marivelle, studying her with the unfiltered curiosity of a 4-year-old. You have pretty eyes. Like mine. Yes, Marivelle whispered, her vision blurring. Just like yours. Cairo, Lyra! The voice cut through the air like a blade. The man in yellow was standing now, newspaper forgotten, his expression dark as he strode toward them. Elowen appeared from behind him, her face drained of color. Time to go, he said firmly, his hand already reaching for Cairo's shoulder. The children groaned but obeyed. As they walked away, Elowen glanced back once. Their eyes met. And this time Marivelle saw it clearly. Recognition laced with desperate, pleading warning. Stay away. Chapter 4. Marivelle waited outside the main theater until intermission, knowing the Holts were inside watching the evening show. When the doors opened and the crowd spilled out, she spotted Elowen moving toward the restroom alone. The man in yellow was with the children, buying them ice cream at the snack bar. This was her chance. Marivelle followed her inside, her heart hammering so hard she thought her ribs might crack. 3 other women were at the sinks, reapplying lipstick and checking their phones. Elowen disappeared into a stall at the far end. Marivelle waited, Each second stretched into an eternity. Finally, the other women left, their chatter fading down the corridor. The stall door opened. Elowen stepped out, head down, moving toward the sinks. Then she saw Marivelle standing by the exit, blocking it. Elowen froze. The color drained from her face. No, no, please. Why? The word came out strangled. Marivelle's hands were shaking, her entire body trembling. Why did you do this to me? You need to leave. Elowen's voice was barely audible, her eyes darting toward the door. You need to forget you saw me. Forget? Marivelle's voice rose, cracking. I buried you. I stood over an empty grave and buried my daughter. Do you have any idea what you did to me? I know. Tears spilled down Elowen's cheeks. God, I know, and I'm sorry. Sorry? Marivelle laughed, the sound bitter and broken. You let me think you were dead. 7 years, Elowen. 7 years I've been drowning. And you were alive this whole time? Playing house with some man and… Stop. Elowen's voice turned sharp. She moved closer, her whisper urgent and fierce. You don't understand. You can't be here. You can't be seen with me. Then explain it to me. Marivelle grabbed her daughter's arms, feeling the solid warmth of her, the proof that she was real. Why did you kill yourself? Elowen's face crumbled. She pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. And when she spoke, her voice was so quiet Marivelle almost didn't hear it. I had to. Dying was the only way to stay alive. What does that mean? It means… Elowen's breath hitched. It means if I had stayed, if I had testified, they would have killed you. They told me they'd kill you, Mom, so I had to disappear. I had to make everyone believe I was gone. The bathroom door swung open. The man in yellow stood in the doorway, his expression dark as thunder. Step away from my wife. Chapter 5. Get away from her. Marivelle positioned herself between Darian and Elowen, her body coiled with protective fury. I don't know what you did to my daughter, but it ends now. Darian's jaw tightened. You need to leave now. I'm not going anywhere without her. Marivelle turned to Elowen. Whatever he's done, whatever he's threatening you with. Mom, stop. Elowen's voice was firm, despite the tears still streaming down her face. You don't understand. Then make me understand. Did he take you? Force you into this? Because I will burn this entire ship down to get you away from him. He saved my life. Elowen stepped forward, placing herself between Marivelle and Darian. He's not the villain in this story. Marivelle stared at her daughter, confusion warring with rage. Then who is? Darian exhaled slowly, his shoulders dropping. When he spoke, his voice had lost its edge, replaced by something weary. Can we please not do this in a public restroom? The kids are with the youth counselor. We have maybe 20 minutes. They ended up in the Holt's stateroom, a modest interior, cabin with rumpled beds and toys scattered across the floor. Darian locked the door behind them and leaned against it, arms crossed. My name is Darian Holt. 7 years ago, I was a federal agent with the Organized Crime Task Force. He pulled out his wallet, showing Marivelle a worn credential. I was assigned to Elowen's case after she witnessed a murder on the last cruise. Marivelle's head spun. What murder? The Cordero Syndicate, Elowen said quietly, sitting on the edge of the bed. I saw them throw a man overboard. A federal prosecutor who was getting too close to their operations. They saw me watching. They threatened her, Darian continued. Told her if she testified, they'd kill everyone she loved. Starting with you. So you helped her fake her death? Marivelle's voice was hollow. I helped her disappear. New identity, new life. Witness protection. Darian's expression softened as he looked at Elowen. I was supposed to stay professional. Keep my distance. But somewhere between the safe houses and the late-night security checks, we fell in love, Elowen finished. He gave up his career for me. We got married. Had Cairo, then Lyra. Marivelle sank into the desk chair, her mind reeling. Why didn't you tell me? Why let me think you were dead? Because the Corderos are still out there, Darian said. And if they knew she was alive, they'd come for her. For all of us. Elowen's face went pale. And now you've led them right to us. Chapter 6. What do you mean I led them here? Marivelle's voice came out strangled. I didn't tell anyone. I don't even know who they are. Darian moved to the window, peering through the curtain at the deck outside. You've been following us for 2 days, asking questions at guest services, taking pictures, approaching our children. He turned back, his expression grim. On a ship with 3,000 passengers, you think no one noticed? The Corderos have people everywhere. Elowen's hands twisted in her lap. Informants, employees, passengers who owe them favors. We've been so careful for 7 years. We change our names every 18 months. We never stay in one place too long. We avoid cameras, crowds, anything that could. Then why come on a cruise? Marival demanded. If you're so worried about being found, why risk it? Elowen's face crumbled. Because Cairo has been asking about the ocean, about why we never go near it. And Lyra drew a picture at school of our family on a beach, except she scribbled herself out because she said we don't belong. There, her voice broke. I wanted to give them one normal memory, 1 week where they could just be kids. You wanted to give them what you took from me. The words came out harsher than Marival intended, but she couldn't stop them.
7 years, Elowen.
You let me bury an empty coffin. You let me think. I know what I did. Elowen stood abruptly, her voice rising. Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I wanted to abandon you to make you believe I was dead? Then why didn't you fight? Why didn't you let the police protect us? Because there were no good options. Tears streamed down Elowen's face. The night it happened, I was on deck 7. I couldn't sleep, so I went for a walk. I saw 3 men arguing with someone near the railing. Then they grabbed him and she squeezed her eyes shut. They threw him over like he was garbage. And one of them turned and saw me watching. Miguel Cordero, Darian said quietly, the syndicate's enforcer. The prosecutor they killed had evidence that would have brought down their entire operation. He looked right at me, Elowen whispered. And he smiled. The next morning, there was a note slipped under our cabin door. It had your address, Mom. Pictures of you leaving for work. It said if I talked, you'd be next. Marival felt the air leave her lungs. So I did the only thing I could think of. I died so you could live. Chapter 7. Darian's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and his entire body went rigid. What is it? Elowen asked, reading his expression. He turned the phone toward them. A text from an unknown number. No words, just a photo. Marival's stomach dropped. It was a picture of her from yesterday, standing at the guest services desk, leaning over the counter, clearly agitated. The angle suggested it had been taken from across the atrium. Watching. Waiting. When did you get this? Elowen's voice had gone hollow. 30 seconds ago. Darian was already moving, grabbing a backpack from the closet and shoving clothes inside. We need to get off this ship. We're in the middle of the ocean, Marival said. Then we lock down until we dock tomorrow in Grand Cayman. He pulled open a drawer, retrieving what looked like a burner phone. I have contacts there. People who can get us out. Another buzz. All 3 of them froze. This time it was a photo of Cairo and Lyra at the kids' club, laughing with the counselor. The timestamp read 15 minutes ago. Elowen's hand flew to her mouth, a strangled sound escaping. They know where the kids are. Darian was already at the door. Stay here. Lock this behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me. I'm coming with you. Elowen grabbed his arm. No. If this is a trap, they'll expect both of us. They don't know Marival is connected yet. They know. Marival held up her own phone, hands shaking. A new message had appeared on her lock screen. Another unknown number. Another photo. This one showed all 3 of them entering the stateroom 20 minutes ago. The text below it read, Family Reunion. How touching. Deck 12, midnight. Come alone or the children disappear. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Darian read the message twice, his jaw working. It's Miguel, Elowen whispered. He's on the ship. We don't know that. Yes, we do. She was trembling now, backing toward the wall. That's exactly what he'd do. Wait until we felt safe. Wait until we had something to lose. Then take it all away. Marival's mind raced. What happens at midnight? Darian's expression was grim. Nothing good. Another message appeared. Same number. 4 words. TikTok Agent Holt. They knew who he was. They'd known all along. The trap had already closed around them. Chapter 8. The ship began to roll an hour before midnight. What had been gentle swaying turned into lurching, movements that sent unsecured objects sliding across tables. An announcement crackled over the intercom advising passengers to remain in their cabins as the vessel navigated through unexpected rough weather. Perfect cover for violence, Marival thought grimly. They'd retrieved the children from the youth club, claiming a family emergency. Now Cairo and Lyra huddled on the bed, confused and frightened by the tension crackling between the adults. Darian had wedged a chair under the door handle and was pacing like a caged animal, checking his phone every 30 seconds. "We can't just wait here," Elowen said, her voice tight. "If Miguel comes to this cabin, he won't." Darian's tone left no room for argument. "He wants me on deck 12, away from you. That's the play. So what, you just walk into his trap? I've dealt with Cordero enforcers before. I can handle—" The lights went out. Lyra screamed. The emergency lighting kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in eerie red. The ship groaned, tilting hard to starboard, and Marivel had to grab the desk to keep from falling. "That's not the storm," Darian said, already moving toward the door. A sound in the hallway. Footsteps, multiple sets moving with purpose. Marivel's heart hammered against her ribs. This was her fault, all of it. Her obsession, her refusal to let go. Her reckless questions. She'd painted a target on her daughter's back after 7 years of safety. She had to fix this. "The balcony cabins have a connecting walkway," she said suddenly. "On deck 9, I saw it when I was following you." Darian turned. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking they want a target. So give them one." Marivel grabbed her bright red jacket from the chair, the same one she'd worn at the port. The one anyone watching would recognize. "I lead them away. You get Elowen and the kids to the security office." "Absolutely not," Elowen said. "I'm not letting you—" "You already let me grieve for 7 years." Marivel's voice cracked, but her hands were steady as she zipped the jacket. "Let me do this one thing. Let me protect you for once." The footsteps stopped outside their door. The handle rattled. Darian made a decision. He grabbed Marivel's arm, his grip fierce. "The walkway connects to the starboard emergency stairs. Take them down to deck 5, then cut through the casino to the atrium. Lots of witnesses, lots of cameras. They won't risk exposure there." "And you?" "We go portside. Meet at security in 15 minutes. He looked at Elowen, then back at Marivel. "Don't be a hero. Just be visible and stay in crowds." A heavy thud against the door. The chair groaned. "Now," Darian hissed. Marivel didn't think. She threw open the balcony door and climbed over the divider to the next cabin. The wind screaming around her, salt spray stinging her face. Behind her, she heard the cabin door splinter. Then she heard Lyra crying and she ran. Chapter 9. Marivel's red jacket made her a beacon in the storm. She burst through the emergency stairwell door onto deck 5, her lungs burning, and immediately felt eyes lock onto her. 2 men in dark jackets peeled away from the casino entrance, moving with predatory purpose. She ran toward the crowd, weaving between slot machines and blackjack tables. Passengers looked up, startled by her desperate sprint. Security would come. They had to. Behind her, footsteps pounded closer. Then a hand grabbed her shoulder and spun her around. Not one of the men in jackets, Darian. "Down!" he shouted, tackling her behind a roulette table just as one of the pursuers lunged. Darian moved with brutal efficiency. A strike to the throat, a twist of the arm, and the first man crumpled. The second hesitated, reaching for something in his jacket. Ship security descended like a flood, radios crackling, hands on weapons. The man froze, then raised his hand slowly. "Federal agent," Darian announced, breathing hard. "These men are wanted for murder and witness intimidation. I need you to lock down this ship." The head of security, a woman with steel gray hair and a no-nonsense expression, assessed the scene. "We need to see credentials." Darian pulled out his old badge, the one he'd kept for exactly this moment. "Call the Miami field office. Ask for Deputy Director Ramona Chen. Tell her Darian Holt is cashing in 7 years of favors." It took 3 hours. 3 hours of interrogations, phone calls, and federal agents boarding the ship when it made emergency port in Grand Cayman. 3 hours of Marivel sitting in a security office with Elowen and the children, watching Lyra sleep against her. Mother's shoulder and Cairo clutch his, father's hand like a lifeline. Miguel Cordero was arrested trying to disembark with a fake passport. 2 other syndicate associates were detained. The evidence Darian had been quietly gathering for years, insurance. He'd kept hidden even from Elowen was enough to dismantle what remained of their operation. When the sun rose over Georgetown, they stood on the dock, free, safe, exhausted. "So what now?" Marivel asked. Elowen looked at Darian, then back at her mother. "We still can't go back to Atlanta. There are always more people like Miguel. But, she hesitated, we could use a grandmother.
What are you saying?
I'm saying you could disappear too. New name, new life. You'd have to leave everything behind. Your job, your friends, your home. Elowen's eyes glistened. But you'd have us. Maribel thought of her empty house. The grave she visited every Sunday. The life she'd been living like a ghost for 7 years. When do we leave? Elowen's face crumpled with relief. She pulled Maribel into an embrace. And for the first time since that night on Deck 7, mother and daughter held each other. 3 months later, in a small coastal town in Costa Rica, a family gathered on a sun-bleached dock. Lyra tugged on Maribel's hand, pointing excitedly at a pelican diving for fish. Cairo showed off a shell he'd found. Darian set up a tripod, adjusting the camera angle. Everyone ready? He called. They arranged themselves. Elowen in the center, radiant in turquoise. Darian beside her, his arm protective around her waist. Cairo and Lyra in front, grinning with gap-toothed joy. And Maribel wearing her granddaughter's favorite color, holding Lyra's small hand in hers. The camera timer beeped. 5 seconds, 4, 3. Say family, Cairo shouted. They did, all of them, together. The shutter clicked, capturing something that had been stolen 7 years ago and was finally, impossibly whole again.